So with my last couple of videos, we talked about how society has an illness of discontent, and it's ubiquitous. The degree of which depends on the specifics of your childhood, but there's an interesting thing that happened to me today. Someone knocked on the door unexpectedly, and it was a Jehovah's Witness, and normally I'm irritated when someone tries to proselytize religion to me at my house. But this time, for some reason, I was inspired to listen to the guy. He was a very nice man. He handed me a brochure, just a very short brochure, and it was an invitation to visit at his church. And coming up on Sunday, the evening before Easter. And so I took it, I thanked him, looked him in the eye. He seemed like a really nice man, and I think he was just happy that someone actually listened to him for a couple of seconds. And so I went back inside and I read what he gave me, and it says this. On the night before he died, Jesus told his followers to commemorate his death. He said, "Keep doing this in remembrance of me." So here's how you can look at this from a biological perspective. So in other words, how does religion work biologically? Putting aside the truth or falsity of the factual details or the supernatural details, but biologically, if you practice religion and if you believe at least Christianity, here's a way to look at it and how it's affecting you biologically. When you're remembering somebody who died for you, so somebody, you were at fault for some reason, you had sinned, whatever that means, you did something wrong that was your fault, and somebody else who was not at fault died for you, they took the consequence for you, then we have three parts of our brain. We have a reptile brain, a mammal brain, and a computer human brain. The reptile brain isn't going to think anything about that. It's just a leaf falling off a tree. It's meaningless to the reptile brain. The computer brain is going to be curious about it and is going to try to figure out why they would do that, perhaps, but it's going to be rather neutral as well. It's the mammal brain that's going to be largely impacted by this story. And if you put yourself in the story that, wow, someone literally or actually did someone actually did die for me, that brings about emotions from the mammal brain, because only someone with a mammal brain would actually do that. A lizard wouldn't do that, and a computer wouldn't do that, but a mammal certainly would. There's lots of examples of mammals being altruistic and by taking the bullet for their offspring, let's say. And so for me, when I put myself in the shoes of a believer who has Jesus to believe in and who has died for me, I feel both sadness mixed somehow with joy. So the sadness is that someone else died, and they died on my behalf. It was my fault, sort of, because if I didn't need saving, then he wouldn't have had to have died. But on the other hand, I feel joy that someone loved me enough that he died for me, and that it implies that I'm valuable, that I have some value that must be good in order for someone to die for me. And so this is all mammal. We call it limbic brain as well. It's mammal-oriented feelings and processes in the brain. So my contention of modern humanity having an illness of discontent, which leads to the quote-unquote sin or the evil acts that we see around us, is because our mammal brain is not fully developed. And you can watch my other videos to figure out why, and it has to do with unintentional neglect in childhood. It's a misunderstanding. Our parents didn't have a well-developed mammal brain to raise us the best or the way that we needed to develop our own mammal brain. So when practicing Christianity, just with this one thing, remembering somebody who died for you, is going to exercise your mammal brain. It's going to help cure the underlying problem that all humans in modern Western society face. And it's going to bring out more of a sense of peace and contentment, because when you exercise your mammal brain, it turns down the fear center, the amygdala center, which then also, as you're doing that, turns down the reptile survival brain and allows you to have compassion and empathy to a greater degree. So anyway, just kind of a fun little thing, a random little thing that that I encountered today that made it clear, a little bit more clear, how these religious types of things actually work when viewed in light of my ongoing theory that I have. Thank you.